What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another installment of Countdown Scouting Network. We are only a few days away from the draft, so let's go ahead and finish out this free agency recap just so we can keep these players in mind on their new teams when we watch the NFL draft. That way, we aren't speculating specific players to go to specific teams when in reality they've already addressed some of those needs in free agency. So we did offense already. Let's do some defense. Right. Let's start with the edge players. Draymond Jones, 17. I think that's a little steep. I like Draymond Jones. Think that's a little steep, but that's okay. Seattle's getting guys that they like. Um, Zach Allen goes to Denver to replace Draymond Jones for close to the same price. I think he's a little bit more productive of a player. Larry Ogunjobi. See, these are not really edge players, all of these guys. But that's okay. Whatever. These are defensive ends. So, whatever. Spot track is grading them how they want to grade them. So, let's see if we can. Yeah, let's do defensive line as a whole because not really liking that. So, Javon Hargraves goes to San Francisco. Yeah, fills in for Javon Kinlaw. He's gonna do what they wanted Javon Kinlaw to do when they drafted him. Sadly, Javon Kinlaw has been injured for most of the time, but for $21 million a year, go Javon Hargraves. He's a beast, worth the money, especially because they're trying to win a Super Bowl right now, so it's worth it. Cleveland goes ahead and gets Dalvin Tomlinson for 14 mil per year. Again, we already talked about Draymond Jones going to Seattle, Zach Allen going to Denver. David Onyemata for 11.66 to Atlanta. Solid guy to put up in that front on defense. Larry Ogunjobi stays with Pittsburgh for almost 10 mil per year. Samson Ebukam. I really like this guy. Speedy edge guy. Goes to Indianapolis, which didn't he start in Indianapolis and then go to Los Angeles Rams and then go to San Francisco? Or maybe he didn't start as Indianapolis. I don't know. Regardless, $8 million a year is basically where I thought he would go. I thought he might get up to 10, but 3 years, 24 million. Good for you, buddy. I think he's really good. I like him in that defense as well. DeMarcus Walker gets 7 mil for Chicago. You know, he's a guy that has done some stuff, but not a lot. Hopefully, this kind of fresh rebuild fresh restart for him is what he's looking for. That can kind of get him going a lot. Let's go to Marcus Davenport moves from New Orleans to Minnesota for 13 mil per year. Good for him. Good for him. I think that's about where he should be. And that's why I'm surprised that Marcus Davenport, again, he can play inside, outside. Samson Ebukam can't really do that. But I thought he'd be around the same price. You're talking about $5 million difference. I was thinking it'd be more like $2 million difference. And again, Morgan Fox is another guy who decides to stay with Chicago. Sorry guys, it's late. With Los Angeles Chargers for a $3.6 million deal. Calais Campbell goes to Atlanta. So Arthur Smith is getting a bunch of these guys for this defense. A bunch of older guys, a bunch of older vets that still have a little bit in them on top of, hey, let's train some of the guys that we have right now. Calais Campbell is going to be playing in the interior as well as, who's the other guy that they got? That's right, David Onyemata. Got both of these guys going to play on that defense. That defensive line is going to look a lot better, I think. Jonathan Bullard, nothing really. Tack McKinley, okay, sure. You keep getting shots, man. But really, after those first couple, really nothing groundbreaking right there. So I don't think any of these guys, other than Marcus Davenport, Javon Hargrave, Dalvin Tomlinson, Draymond Jones, David Onyemata, Larry Ogunjobi, Samson Ebukam, I don't even think DeMarcus Walker makes it where you don't want to draft someone. So some of those guys will make it where they're not going to draft any of these defensive linemen coming up in the draft. But for the most part, I don't think anyone else is going to stop you from drafting someone. All right, let's go to some linebackers, man. Uh, Tremaine Edmonds, yes, this was a huge deal. $18 million goes to Chicago. So they get rid of Roquan, Roquan Smith, and get Tremaine Edmonds. I think Tremaine Edmonds has a higher ceiling. He's more athletic. He's also younger. He's still not even 25 years old. He came into the league at 20. Um, and so he's not even 25 years old. $18 million a year is a lot, but that's okay. Bobby Okereke goes to the New York Giants to fill one of their holes at linebacker for $10 million. That's a solid deal for him. Um, that's a really solid deal for him. I like that a lot. Arden Key, who's more of an edge rusher, goes to Tennessee from Jacksonville. He kind of revamped his career with that 1 year in San Francisco, and then went to Jacksonville. Played pretty okay, and now he's getting another $7 million deal. So good for him. T.J. Edwards, that's a really good one. Jermaine Pratt and T.J. Edwards are two. Cincinnati ends up retaining Jermaine Pratt. That's good. They're not really going to have to worry as much on linebacker. I would still want them to get another linebacker, definitely another offensive lineman, and that defensive backfield needs help. So they're still looking that way. Chicago gets another linebacker, T.J. Edwards. So now they got Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds on that linebacker core. So they're probably not looking linebackers. They're going to be looking more defensive line, defensive back, offensive line. That's what I would have for them. Alex Anzalone re-signs for $6 million to Detroit. Cole Holcomb is a solid linebacker. Alex Singleton is a solid linebacker re-sign. Eric Kendricks, this one's pretty interesting. Goes to LAC, goes to the Chargers. I think he's got a lot left in him still. But there's been a lot of veterans signing to the Chargers that just aren't really doing much and kind of disappointing a little bit. Well, we'll see what he has in him. David Long to Miami for 5.5 is honestly, I think that's a steal. As well as Kaiser White for $5 million to Arizona. I like both of those moves a lot. Dallas re-signs Leighton Vander Esch for $4 million, a 2-year, $8 million deal. If he can stay healthy, this is going to be a really good one. Pittsburgh brings in Elandon Roberts. Elandon Roberts is going to be your first and second down back, but I really like it for 3.5, and he's a leader, and he plays a bunch of special teams. 2-year, $7 million deal. That's a good deal. Bobby Wagner goes back to Seattle for 5.5. Sure. Levante David goes back to Tampa Bay for 4.5. Devin Bush signs at Seattle for 3.5. Bud Dupree goes to Atlanta for $3 million. This is crazy. Some of these are lower. Obviously, Devin Bush had his issues. I was still expecting around $6 million for him. Levante David, I was expecting him to sign more than a 1-year deal. I was expecting maybe a 2-3-year deal worth, $6, $7, $8 million per year. He goes for 4 or 5, so that's crazy. Again, other than that, I mean, there's some solid guys that move teams here, and will affect the draft. But this was a really good linebacker class, I think. All right, and we will go to secondary. We're going to do secondary as a whole. I don't want to keep you guys here forever, but that's a solid linebacker class in free agency. A lot of the guys moved, too, to some teams that you would expect to be grabbing them. So this safety class is not as great as everyone was hoping originally, the NFL draft. The class in this, what is this called? Free agency, is actually a pretty solid class. Cornerback class is okay as well. So Jesse Bates gets a $16 million deal. Good for him. I was thinking he'd get closer to that 18, 19 million. I thought he was going to really reset the safety market. But $16 million a year is good. Jamal Dean goes back to Tampa Bay. Good for them for re-signing their own Florida native for $13 million a year. And he's a solid corner. They need to get another guy on the other side to help him out. James Bradbury stays in Philly for 12.6. Again, that's awesome. Let's go get that ring, but he's also getting paid like a solid cornerback. Cam Sutton gets 11, goes to Detroit. A longer corner. I think he fits their scheme a lot. Carolina gets Von Bell. Then this is kind of Byron Murphy is a guy who, when he's healthy, he's really good. He just, I don't know, doesn't move the needle for me. But again, for 8-7, that's pretty good. He's only 25 years old. Patrick Peterson gets another one with Pittsburgh. And I hope Pittsburgh, if you're listening to me, Pittsburgh, let's get Joey Porter Jr. If we get Joey Porter Jr., pair him with Patrick Peterson, man, those fans will go crazy. Jimmy Ward signs with Houston, excuse me. Jordan Poyer actually re-signs with Buffalo for only $6 million. This was probably the craziest I've ever this was like the craziest deal I've seen this entire time. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you see him down there going to Detroit for only 6.5 is crazy too. But that's a 1-year deal. This is a 2-year deal for a guy who's going to be 32 when the season starts. And I was really expecting him to get 12 and a half per year and sign a 2-3-year deal worth 12 and a half per. You're talking about a guy that got 12 and a half over 2 years, split to 6.25. They got a steal with this guy. And again, he's from Buffalo, or he's not from Buffalo. He's played at Buffalo for a long, long time. They ended up bringing him back. Let's go chase that ring. But I thought he was a goner. 6.25 is crazy. Andrew Wingard, no thank you. Jabril Peppers resigns, and no thank you. Mike Hughes, no thank you, no thank you. A bunch of these guys, no thank you. Keanu Neal signs for $2 million with Pittsburgh. I don't really get it. I understand it's kind of going away from that game, but he's a box safety. You're not going to get more than $2 million to a box safety in this kind of game. I don't know. Don't get it. Terrell Edmonds goes to Philly, $2 million. He's a solid athletic safety. Miami re-signs their own. Taylor Rapp, Geno Stone. The rest of the way is just eh. None of these guys are going to stop you from re-signing anyone or from going after anyone in the draft. So, all in all, I think this defensive free agency class was really, really good. And I think a lot of these guys, especially linebackers and safeties, got less money than I really anticipated them getting. So, bravo by teams. But, again, that Jordan Poyer, I knew it. I knew what the deal was. And then reading through this again, it just shocked me again on how much of a team-friendly deal Jordan Poyer took. And I don't know if that's because no one was coming after him or he really believed in Buffalo to get to the Super Bowl this year. But very strange. I thought he was going to be a Miami Dolphin for $10 million, and he stays with Buffalo for 6.5. So that's fine. I'm not salty. All right, I appreciate you guys watching. I think Monday we've got a mock draft. We're going to go through the whole thing live. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think we'll live stream it. I don't really know yet, but it's going to be a long one. It's going to be a long-form video, probably close to an hour. So go ahead and leave a like, and hopefully you join in on the live stream and tell me who you want your favorite team to take. So appreciate you guys stopping by. Have a good day, and peace.